Mike Foster sat in his private lounge sipping whiskey, his gold watch gleaming under the dim lights. His best friend Jake leaned forward, voice low. "Are you sure Lisa loves you, Mike? Or is it just your money?" Mike smirked. "She loves me, Jake. She calls me her king." Jake scoffed. "You're a married man, Mike. Sarah has been with you for 15 years and you cheat with a woman half your age. What if Lisa's just waiting for your money?" The words stung. Deep down, Mike had his doubts. Lisa was young, beautiful, and wild. Everything Sarah wasn't. But true love? Did she love him, or did she love his wallet? Then an idea struck him. A test. A deadly test. "I'll fake my death," Mike declared. "Let's see how Lisa reacts." Jake's eyes widened. "Are you crazy?" Mike's mind raced. He had a lawyer who owed him favors. With the right documents and a stage accident, the world would believe he was dead. And then he'd watch from the shadows. Jake hesitated, then smirked. "This is insane, but I'm in." The plan was set. Mike would die, and Lisa's true colors would be revealed. What he didn't know was that he wasn't the only one playing a game. Mike knew that to make this believable, every detail had to be airtight. His lawyer, David, prepared a fake death certificate declaring Mike dead from a fatal car accident. A stage crash was set up, complete with a burnt-out vehicle. Meanwhile, Sarah, his devoted wife, was at home, unaware of her husband's twisted plan. She had spent the morning praying for his safety, clueless that he was deceiving her just as much as Lisa. The moment the news broke, Lisa's reaction would reveal everything. Mike watched from a hidden penthouse with Jake, eyes locked on his phone as he called Lisa. "Babe," Lisa answered sweetly. "It's Jake," he said, faking a somber tone. "Mike is dead." Silence. Then a gasp. "What? No, it can't be," Lisa sobbed. Mike smirked. "She's good," he muttered. Jake continued. "He left everything to Sarah in the will. She's inheriting all his money, properties, everything." The sobbing stopped. Dead silence. Then Lisa's voice changed. Cold. Sharp. "Wait. Nothing for me?" Jake sighed. "No, Lisa. He never changed his will." Mike's hands tightened into fists. He had hoped even slightly that Lisa would mourn him for real. Instead, her concern was about money, and this was just the beginning. Mike felt a sickening twist in his gut. Lisa's sudden shift from grief to greed confirmed his worst fear. She never loved him, but he needed to see just how deep her betrayal ran. Jake kept the act going. "Lisa, I know this is hard, but Sarah is handling all his assets now." Lisa sniffled. That doesn't make sense. Mike said he loved me. Why would he leave everything to that old woman?" Mike clenched his jaw. That old woman? Sarah, the woman who cooked for him, prayed for him, stood by him. Then Lisa's voice dropped to a whisper. "Jake, listen, you were Mike's best friend. Maybe there's a way to fix this? Maybe some money could come my way." Mike's blood boiled. She wasn't even hiding it anymore. Jake played along. "Lisa, are you asking me to help you get some of Mike's money?" A pause, then a chuckle. "Oh, come on, Jake. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours." Mike had heard enough. His hands trembled with rage. She wasn't mourning. She was scheming. Jake ended the call. The room was silent. "I told you," Jake muttered. Mike exhaled, his heart pounding. Lisa was a fraud. And now, it was time to push her further. He wasn't done yet. Not even close. Mike leaned forward, eyes dark with fury. "She's a snake," Jake smirked. "Told you. But let's see just how low she'll go." Mike nodded. Time for phase 2. Jake called Lisa again, this time with an offer. "Listen, there might be a way to get you something, but it's risky." Lisa's tone turned eager. "Risky? How?" "Sarah is still grieving. She hasn't even looked at Mike's accounts yet. If you can get close to her, manipulate her, maybe even convince her to give you something, we can both win." Lisa laughed. "Oh, Jake, you're wicked. I love it." Mike's stomach churned. She was ready to play his grieving wife just for money? Lisa didn't waste time. The next morning, she showed up at Mike's mansion, dressed in black, eyes red with fake tears. Sarah, still devastated, welcomed her inside. Lisa, I didn't know Mike told you about us. Lisa sniffled, taking Sarah's hands. He loved you, Sarah, but he also confided in me. He wanted me to have something in case anything ever happened to him. Sarah hesitated. He never mentioned that to me. Lisa sighed dramatically. He didn't want to hurt you, but before he died, he told me about some money he wanted me to have. Mike, watching the footage from a hidden camera, clenched his fists. She was trying to rob his wife. Lisa had no idea the storm coming for her. Lisa sat across from Sarah, her eyes filled with fake sympathy. Mike didn't want you to know about us, she said, voice trembling. But he cared about me. He even said he wanted me to be taken care of if anything happened to him. Sarah's lips parted in shock. Taken care of? Lisa nodded. I don't want to sound greedy, but I know he set some money aside for me. I just don't know how to access it. Mike gritted his teeth as he watched his wife unknowingly sit across from a vulture. Sarah's face softened. I don't know, Lisa. Everything is still overwhelming. I haven't even checked his accounts. Lisa reached for Sarah's hands. If you ever find something, please, honor his wishes. He would have wanted this. Mike nearly threw his drink at the screen. Unbelievable, he muttered. Lisa left with a satisfied smirk. That night she called Jake. Sarah is weak. I'll get something out of her. Jake played along. Good, but you need to be patient. Lisa chuckled. Oh, I'm not waiting. If she won't willingly hand over the money, maybe I'll push her to speed things up. Mike's heart pounded. Push her? What did she mean by that? His test had revealed Lisa's true nature. But now things were getting dangerous. And Mike wasn't about to let this continue. Mike could hardly contain his rage. Lisa had already proven her greed, but now she was planning something far worse. He turned to Jake. We need to find out what she means by pushing Sarah. Jake nodded. Let's bait her. That night, Lisa called Sarah again, her voice soft, fake concern dripping from her words. Sarah, I can't sleep knowing Mike's money is just sitting there, untouched. It's what he wanted for me. Sarah sighed. Lisa, I told you. I haven't even looked into the accounts yet. Lisa went silent for a moment, then whispered, Maybe I can help. Sarah frowned. Help? I have a lawyer friend. He can check everything for you. No stress. Mike's fists clenched. She was trying to manipulate his wife into handing over control. Sarah hesitated. I don't know. Lisa sighed dramatically. I get it. You're grieving. But be careful, Sarah. Banks do sneaky things when widows don't claim assets fast enough. Mike's stomach turned. She was planting fear into his wife's heart. But Sarah was no fool. I'll think about it, she said. As Lisa hung up, she texted Jake, thinking he was on her side. She's too soft, Lisa said. If she doesn't act fast, I may have to help her make a decision. Mike's blood ran cold. Lisa was planning something sinister. And this time, he wouldn't just watch. It was time to strike back. Mike had seen enough. Lisa wasn't just greedy, she was dangerous. If she was willing to manipulate Sarah, who knew what she'd do next? Jake smirked. Time to flip the script. Mike nodded. Let's set her up. Hard. That night, Jake messaged Lisa. Sarah is overwhelmed, Jake said. If we move fast, we can get into Mike's accounts. Lisa responded instantly. Perfect. How do we do it? Lisa asked. We need her to sign over control to my lawyer friend. He'll handle everything, Jake said. Lisa didn't hesitate. Set it up, Lisa said. The sooner the better. Mike clenched his jaw. She was ready to rob his wife blind. The next day, Jake invited Lisa to a meeting. He introduced her to a lawyer named Daniel, actually a private investigator recording everything. Lisa shook Daniel's hand. So you'll get me access to the money? Daniel smiled. Once Sarah signs, you'll have full control. Lisa grinned. She won't even know what hit her. Mike exhaled sharply. This was it, the final nail in her coffin. Once Lisa left, Daniel turned to Mike. We have enough. The moment she pushes Sarah to sign, she's finished. Mike's heart pounded. Tomorrow Lisa would walk straight into her own trap, and she had no idea. Lisa wasted no time. The next morning, she called Sarah. I spoke to Jake's lawyer, she said sweetly. He found a way to help you access Mike's assets quickly. No stress, no hassle. Sarah hesitated. I don't know, Lisa. I should probably wait. Lisa sighed dramatically. Sarah, banks are tricky. If you wait too long, you might lose everything. Mike wouldn't want that, would he? Sarah swallowed hard. I guess not. Lisa pounced. Great. Just sign the papers and let the lawyer handle it. Sarah had no idea she was being recorded. Mike and Jake watched from a hidden camera feed. Lisa was so blinded by greed that she didn't notice the setup. Sarah, still shaken, agreed to meet Lisa and Jake at the lawyer's office. The moment she walked in, Lisa pushed the documents toward her. Just sign here, she urged. But before Sarah could lift the pen, the office door swung open. Mike stepped inside, alive, furious, staring straight at Lisa. Her face went pale. Mike? Mike smirked. Surprised? Lisa stumbled back. I thought... You thought you could steal from my wife? His voice was ice. Sarah gasped, eyes wide with shock. You faked your death? Lisa was speechless. Mike folded his arms. And you just exposed yourself. The trap had snapped shut. Lisa was done. Lisa's face twisted in horror as she looked from Mike to Sarah, then to Jake. This is a joke, right? She stammered. You're not really alive? Mike smirked. Oh, I'm very much alive. And I just watched you try to rob my wife. Sarah, still in shock, turned to Lisa. You were trying to steal from me? Lisa's expression hardened. Sarah, you don't understand. Mike promised me. He... Promised you what? Mike snapped. That you could take everything I worked for? That you could scam my wife? Lisa's mask finally cracked. The fake tears, the sweet voice, all gone. She straightened, eyes filled with rage. You played me first, Mike, she hissed. You wanted to test me? Well, congratulations, you got your answer. But don't act like you're the victim. Sarah turned to Mike, her voice trembling. You faked your death? For her? Mike opened his mouth, but before he could explain, Sarah shook her head. I prayed for you. I cried for you. And the whole time, you were playing games with some little girl? Lisa smirked. Looks like you're in trouble, Mike. Mike's heart sank. He had been so focused on exposing Lisa that he hadn't considered what this meant for his marriage. Sarah's voice was cold. I want a divorce. Lisa's eyes widened in amusement. Well, looks like I won after all. But Mike wasn't done yet. Neither of them had seen the last of him. Mike felt like the air had been knocked out of him. Sarah, wait. He reached for her, but she stepped back, eyes filled with betrayal. No, Mike. Her voice was cold, steady. I spent years loving you, trusting you, praying for you. And you threw it all away for a silly game with your mistress? Lisa smirked, arms folded. Ouch. That's gotta hurt. Mike turned on her, rage flashing in his eyes. Shut up, Lisa. You're finished. Lisa scoffed. Please, you faked your death to spy on me. That's insane. Who do you think people will side with? The grieving girlfriend or the rich liar? Mike clenched his fists. Oh, you're about to find out. Right on cue, the door swung open and 2 police officers stepped inside. Lisa Carter, one of them said, you're under arrest for fraud and attempted theft. Lisa's smirk vanished. What? Jake held up his phone, smirking. You confessed everything on tape, sweetheart. Lisa's face drained of color. She turned to Mike. You wouldn't? I already did. As the officers cuffed her, she screamed, Mike, you son of a... Sarah watched the scene unfold, then turned to Mike, shaking her head. You can send her to jail, but you can't fix this. Mike's chest tightened as she walked away. And for the first time, he realized he had lost everything. Mike sat in his lawyer's office, running a hand down his face. She's serious about the divorce? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Jake sighed. She's more than serious, Mike. She's taking everything. Mike's stomach twisted. Everything? His lawyer, a stern-faced man named Daniel, slid a document across the table. Your wife is entitled to half of your wealth, but given the circumstances, faking your death, emotional distress, and infidelity, she has grounds to take much more. Mike's heart pounded. How much more? Daniel didn't blink. She's taking the house, the cars, and full control of your business shares. If you don't fight this, she'll leave you with almost nothing. Mike slumped back in his chair. She wouldn't do that. Jake exhaled. Mike, she already filed the papers. Reality hit him like a freight train. The loyal wife he had taken for granted, the woman who had stood by him for years, was done. The next day, Mike tried to meet Sarah at their house, now her house. She was waiting for him at the door. Sarah, please, let's talk. She crossed her arms. Talk? Like you talked to me before planning your sick game? Mike swallowed. I made a mistake. Sarah's eyes were cold. No, Mike, you made your choice. Now I'm making mine. And with that, she shut the door in his face. Mike had nothing left. Mike stood outside his former home, staring at the closed door. His house, his wife, his life, gone. He had planned everything so carefully, testing Lisa, exposing her greed, proving his own brilliance. But in the process, he had destroyed the one thing that truly mattered. Sarah. With nowhere else to go, Mike checked into a cheap motel. The luxury, the power, the respect vanished overnight. Days turned into weeks. Sarah moved on, running the businesses he once controlled. She flourished. Her name appeared in magazines as a powerful businesswoman who overcame betrayal. Meanwhile, Mike's reputation was in ruins. Lisa's arrest had made headlines. News outlets dug into his personal life, exposing his fake death stunt, infidelity, and downfall. Investors pulled out of his remaining ventures. Friends distanced themselves. One evening, he sat alone in the dim motel room, staring at a bottle of whiskey. His phone rang. It was Jake. Mike, I warned you. Mike exhaled. Yeah, you did. There was silence before Jake sighed. Sarah didn't just leave you, she took everything because you gave her every reason to. Mike gripped the phone tighter. I lost her, Jake. No, Jake corrected. You threw her away. Mike hung up, staring at his reflection in the motel mirror. The man who had everything now had nothing, and he only had himself to blame. The moral lesson of this story is that betrayal and deceit always come with consequences. Taking loyalty for granted can lead to losing everything, and those who play selfish games often become victims of their own schemes.